Recording in progress.
So good morning. This is Sunday, March 31st. Welcome everybody. Happy Easter to those who are celebrating. Happy Ramadan, happy Holy Week. I say good morning, but I know some of you it's good evening, depending where you are. So welcome and thanks for joining us. This is our third Soul School Network meeting, 3 Sundays in March, third month and 3 Sundays. So really delighted that you would choose to join us this morning. And you have likely read the advertisement for this Sunday. And we are delighted to have our facilitators presenting. The title is Resurrection in a Time of Crisis, Reconnecting with Our True Divine Nature to Co-Create a New Earth. And seems like a timely topic on this Easter Sunday. And so today you're going to hear from 4 of Soul School Network facilitators, and I've put a link in the chat. If you don't know anything about them, you can go there later and read a little bit. And so I'd like to jump in. What we're going to do today is have a panel discussion on this topic. And at the end, then Corey Yank is going to lead us in a lovely meditation. And we'll talk about a few little things, take any questions you might have, and so on. So I think that's it for the introductions. Obviously, you're invited to put your hand up if you would like at any point. Likely we'll reserve questions till the end, and in case you have something burning, though, that you must ask during the meeting, of course, we're open to that. And so let us begin. So as the title of our panel implies, we are living through a time of crisis, a time of collapse, and the death of old world views and old structures, which also opens a space for the new to emerge, a resurrection or redemption, which many now are calling the new earth. And so for our panel, do you feel this is an accurate assessment of our situation? And if so, how do you see this unfolding? Feel free to speak from the perspectives of the tradition with which you're connected, plus your own evolving insights, experience, and vision. So I'm going to first turn it over to you, Dan. I welcome your thoughts, please.
Well, I first would say I don't really have a tradition. It's kind of an amalgam of everything because I'm a devourer of information. And so I've studied a lot of different philosophies. What I do find interesting is they're all converging to this time of change that we're going through. I think most traditionally, a lot of people are hearing that we're exiting the age of Pisces, which is really the patriarchy. That's the age of control, authority, and institution. And we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And coincidentally, this coming week or week and a half, we have the eclipse that is happening here in North America, and many are looking at that as this switch, like almost a physical switch of the Earth to switch to this new age. So it will be interesting to see what this eclipse portends. But what I see happening right now is when you go from this age of authority to this new age of knowledge, we're witnessing the death of the institution and the authority. So this great change we're going through is really about the empowerment of, in a sense, the individual. Even though we're moving towards unity consciousness, I think it's the individual rising up and grasping their own power instead of giving their power to the authority or the institution. And so it's going to be a chaotic time because people will need to, in a sense, stand in their own power. And that's something that I think a lot of society is not used to doing. But it's also a brilliantly liberating time because as you make that change, you grasp your own creativity, you grasp your own God consciousness. And so we really are going through this great awakening as a species. But like any sort of birthing situation, it can be very tumultuous. And so I do think the next 5 years are going to be rather crazy, but I do see on the other side of it a very beautiful world awaits us as we shed these vestiges of our past and enter this new era. My 2 cents.
Thanks, Dan. Yes, valuable 2 cents. Thank you. Kavita, please. Love to hear from you.
Yes, well, I love what Dan said. Definitely more than 2 cents worth. I agree with all of it. And yes, I also see this as a time when the forces of darkness are coming to a head, and at the same time, the forces of light are emerging. And I think it's important for us to also understand how these forces of darkness are manifesting right now. And most overtly, it's in the form of very corrupt and destructive powers at the top of our power structure, kind of doubling down in this technocratic totalitarian power grab that's decimating our basic human rights and freedoms, or also our natural course of evolution, and as Dan mentioned, our natural connection with our spiritual source of creation, ourself itself, and our own source of creativity. So this is a very pivotal time, and we need to choose what we align with, whether we continue to allow these forces of darkness to lead the way, or whether we grab the reins of our own power as the people, as the planet, and we come together and bring in a new vision and the kind of earth we really desire. So yes, I see this much the same way as Dan does, and I think it's a time of great opportunity.
Thank you, Kavita. Koryenka, please do join in the conversation.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity, Sue. Well, I come from the Incan tradition, and my own experience in the spiritual path. My understanding is that what is happening all the time is change through history. Endings and beginnings are part of life, and new cycles and starting new ones just are nothing new for the earth and the universe. There is always change. Like the layers of rocks on the surface of the earth contains evidence of evolutionary processes of the continents and the oceans, and that is something that might have happened billions of years ago. Seasons change all the time, so change is really part of the everyday life. We as individuals go through different seasons as well in our own lives as we age as well. So in a way, change really is nothing new. But this particular transition for humanity, what our ancestors already knew about and called the Great Awakening, that is something that, for instance, the Incan people knew. This marks the end of a 500-year cycle to start a new one of a spiritual awakening and harmony. And so it's a big change. What I find particularly challenging, though, for the people is coming to realize that so much of what we were taught and we believe in might not be true. That moment in time when we realize that the fundamental beliefs we had, what we were told, the way we saw the world, when people realize that their fundamental beliefs are all based perhaps on lies, or there has been something that wasn't true in the whole thing, and they realize that they cannot trust completely the system perhaps, this can cause a huge amount of insecurity and grief. However, as we are, we're parting ways with the old, inevitably something new arises. And this process of letting go ushers the birth of the new way of life based on our connection with Great Spirit. So I think that we finally get to see the world then through the eyes of the divine, thanks to all of these changes and the transitions that can be really hard to be part of. But at the end, we get to truly listen to the one who will never lie to us or betray us. We listen to the divine, and we will be able to trust our own soul. And what some call the new earth will be a natural consequence of rediscovering our divine origin and nurturing also that connection with the divine that is within, but also with the world. So yes, about these two phases of the endings and new beginnings. I don't see each phase happening independently, but sort of overlapping one with the other at some point, more or less, now and for future generations to come. So this is somehow sort of a slow process if you think that this is going to take a few generations at least for this to take place, but it feels very much part of our everyday lives already. And yes, it's true that the world is going through pain at this time. Many are experiencing this pain as crisis. It's a real test for humanity to experience the pain of giving birth to the new earth, like Dan pointed out. But our strength is needed at this time. And we can handle this. I think we got this. Our capacity to love needs to be expanded as we experience contractions and pain at this time. And we really, I think we can trust ourselves and we can have faith in the divine that this is going to take us far. This faith in the divine will really help us go through this transition. And I feel complete.
Lovely. Thank you, Koryanka. Michael, we'll invite you to share your thoughts, please.
Thank you, Susan. So I begin by honoring my elder, grandfather William Commanda, because as you said at the outset, to speak to these two issues from the perspective of tradition, and the tradition that I'm fortunate enough to have in my prayer bag is the Indigenous tradition introduced to myself and my family through grandfather William Commanda. And in essence, through our knowing of him, we sit here in Peru, in the Sacred Valley, in the energy of the Apus, and in the energy of the higher dimensional beings who really flood where we sit with spiritual energy. In the Indigenous tradition on the Red Road, the Indigenous people are well aware of change. They're well aware of crisis. They're well aware of all of the things that we are now experiencing. They experienced in the beginning. They experienced harsher measures, genocide, straight up, all throughout the Americas, all throughout the world. Throughout the world, the Indigenous people suffered from genocide. And where does that birth from? That's birthed from a consciousness. And where does that consciousness emanate from? Unfortunately, there is a heavy dose of dark forces that inform the consciousness that we all live in. The good news is that if you go look in the mirror, you'll see a light worker. That's the good news. The bad news is that the light worker has to learn how to orient themselves within this chaos, within this confusion. And in the Indigenous tradition, prophecy was an important aspect of their existence and their culture. The eagle and the condor prophecy, the white buffalo calf prophecy, on and on and on. And I'll just take the white buffalo calf prophecy as an example of what I'm speaking to, and it's this. It is said that white buffalo calf woman came to the Lakota people 19 generations ago and brought them the spiritual teachings in the pipe. In the sacred pipe, the bowl represents the feminine and the stem represents the masculine and the smoke represents the prayer. And there's a much bigger teaching about the pipe than that time affords me, but you get the idea. It is said that white buffalo calf woman gifted that pipe to the Lakota people, and today, Arvo Looking Horse from Lakota carries that pipe. Through the auspices of Grandfather William Commanda, we were privileged to do ceremony with Arvo Looking Horse and that white buffalo calf pipe. And what White Buffalo Calf said to the people was, I'm going to give you a prophecy. And the prophecy is the following. You will know the changing times are upon you when there is born a white buffalo calf. You will know it is the white buffalo calf of the prophecy, because on the day of its birth, the father will die, evidencing the death of the patriarchal system and the rebirth of the matriarchal system. You will know it is the white buffalo calf of the prophecy, because after its birth, it will turn all colors of humanity and then go back to white. On August the 3rd, 1994, in Janesville, Wisconsin, born to white ranchers, was a white buffalo calf. The father died of a brain aneurysm on the day of its birth, and after its birth, it changed all colors of humanity and went back to white. I actually have behind me a postcard with white buffalo calf depicted on the postcard, and a piece of hair from the white buffalo calf that was taken and given to me by an Algonquin elder. All just to say these are symbols, and the prophecy is a harbinger of where we're at. It's so accurate, it's unbelievable. So since 1994, we've been in this transition. It is said that we left Pisces and went into Aquarius on February 4th, 1962 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we're in Aquarius. We're in what it is that has been prophesied. You live in prophecy. The eagle and the condor prophecy is, you will know the changing times are upon you when the eagle of the north and the condor of the south begin to exchange their ceremonies and medicines, demonstrating the new time that is coming. This is all coming through the indigenous people who are essentially sun worshipers. And the reason that they are sun worshipers is that within the tradition of the indigenous, the sacred fire keeper is one of the most respected personages. And why? Because that sacred fire represents the sun, the great spiritual sun, from where we all came and where we are all going back. So you are a fire keeper. You have 3 fires within you: the fire of the head, fire of the heart, the fire of the loins. This is electric, this is solar, and fire by friction is fire of the loins. So how you tend your fires equals who you are. And within the tending of those fires, you will find your heart. And that is the seat of your intelligence, not your head, your heart. And as you make a vow to yourself, not to anyone else, but to yourself, to tend those fires, then you become exactly what you are meant to be, which is a light keeper. You are here to hold the light. Hold it and hold it strong.
Thank you, Michael. So it sounds like everybody's in agreement. Make change your friend, given the time we're in. So we'll move on to the next question for the panel. Is this redemption, the rising of the new, guaranteed? Or do we need to take action to bring it into being? If our outer action is needed, how do we receive guidance from the inner planes to bring about right action and outer transformation? Do you feel there are other forces in the universe that are supporting this process? That's a big question. Let us begin with Kavita, please.
So it's a bit paradoxical, but yes, I do feel that this redemption, this transmutation is guaranteed. And at the same time, we need to take action to bring it about. Yeah, and that paradox has to do with the coexistence of absolute and relative levels. At the absolute level, we are already whole, we are already redeemed, we are already God or Goddess or Tao or the Great Spirit. And at the relative level, we need to realign with that, to connect with that, and to bring that spirit into manifestation in this world. So yes, I do believe that this awakening, this resurrection is guaranteed. And yes, we also need to take action, and we need to take action at two levels, both the inner level and the outer level. The inner level meaning realigning with that source, and I agree with what Michael said, that realignment means to connect with those three power centers in us, the head, the heart, and the belly, bring them into alignment. And particularly the heart, receive the intuition of the heart, because that's our direct connection with source, and to take our direction from source, which is unique for all of us. We all have our own mission here, our own contribution, our own gifts to give to the whole. And when we align with that source, we receive that intuition and that direction directly. There was another part to that question, wasn't there? What was the third part? Yes. Yes, do I feel there are other forces in the universe supporting this? And yes, I do. I believe that they're both inner and outer. We have these higher levels of consciousness already available to us, within us. It's already there in our DNA, in our cells, in our chakras, in our power centers. And as we tune into those centers, we align with the whole collective fields and other beings who are vibrating at that frequency. And they also support us. They're always supporting us in this reciprocal relationship between us as individuals and the larger collective fields of which we're an intimate part.
Thank you for those wise words, Kavita. Koryanka, please.
Yes, so talking about the Great Awakening again, this is how I see it, that the Great Awakening is already underway, that the light is finding ways to come back strong. And yes, there are forces in the universe supporting this process. We have spirit guides in the ethers, Mother Earth and the spirits of nature also offering their support and guidance. While so much is happening though for us, and so much support is available, we still have work to do. We are called to be the leaders and the heroes of our own history, how the person is going to evolve and go through this transition, and also at the planetary level is going to really depend on us, on every one of us, and then as a collective, how we move through this. Once a teacher told me, there are things that belong to God, there are things that belong to others, and there are things that belong to us. And I must add, it's wise to know what belongs to us, what is for us to do, and take action on that, leading with the soul now. Because I truly believe that the way of the soul will save us. The soul is of divine origin and directly connected to Great Spirit, the creator or creatrix, if you will. When the soul inside us, humans, leads the way, the mind becomes a really helpful ally, and the heart also connects us to the soul and offers the creative force of love to be at the center of all of our creations. So when the creations come from love, we're going to see a very different earth. Humanity will create something new. But how do we receive this guidance and lead from the soul? I have seen in my personal journey, going back to the ancient ways, is the most invaluable experience of reconnecting with the soul, just like my grandparents did before me. And it's a sacred process of reconnection. To me, it's as important as taking a breath to be alive. It's a process of rediscovering who we truly are and getting to know ourselves in a new way. And it will require to work with the heart. The work will be about clearing any heavy energy, any attachments to any stories that cloud the heart and take up space. So we need to do a lot of clearing work, a lot of healing work. This is how we create a space for love, light, energy to enter the heart and for us to access the soul.
Thank you, Koryanka. Michael, please. Let's hear from you. Thank you.
Heard the word paradox, and I think that came from Kavita, and it is paradoxical. The paradox is inner and outer. That's the paradox. The paradox is when I'm talking about transition and transformation, I'm wanting to talk about my role in it, and meaning your role, my role. What is our role within that transition? And a lot of Hindu teachings that I have been following lately speak to a concept that perhaps is foreign to most when we're talking about action. Because what the Hindu philosophy suggests is that you are not the doer. Contemplate that for a moment. You are not the doer. So when you're talking about action, now all of a sudden you're faced with a challenge, because it's human to think right away that I can bring action forward that is going to change things. But what you have to understand is that the change is already underway, and it's a cosmic undertaking. You live in a cosmos, not just on Fifth Avenue downtown. You live in a cosmos. And within that cosmos are the forces that you're speaking about. Are there other forces? You bet there are. And they come from all sorts of directions, the Pleiades, Orion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all these constellations, the Great Bear. If one began to study the energy that flows from these centers into you. And what are you? You are a vessel, and that vessel happens to be a chemical factory from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. And within that chemistry, there is an activator, and it's called emotions and thinking. It's called feeling and thinking. And how you feel and how you think dictates your action. And the real action is what Koryanka has just put her finger on, which is the inner working of the heart. The ability of the heart to take in this energy. The word intuition is quite a word. Take that word and split it. In, tuition. So tuition, payment, karma, for a secret, bracket, mystery school. Intuition. So intuition leads to initiation. And in your intuition, you are in initiation. That is the path through which you will be initiated into the mysteries. And so what you know about your intuition becomes your task. How do I break down my own intuition? Because what is my intuition? It is information from higher dimensional beings. And it gets obstructed by your thoughts and your feelings. So when we get to our work, the action, I've just identified it. The action is looking at yourself and your inner workings, and how you change your inner workings from being in your head to being in your heart. And it's a big choice, because most of your life you've been taught to be in your head. And now you're being asked to switch the thinking, to go to a place of love, harmony, and where you can then deploy action. And that action will be on self. That action will be on self, opening up the instrument for the information that will come. Recently, I've been working with a Native nation, reviving that Native nation. And we came upon a book with the following title: The Ancestors Are Arranging Things. Isn't that beautiful? The ancestors are arranging things. You live in eternity. You don't live in a box. You don't live in a 9 to 5. You don't live in a 1 to 100 syndrome. You live in eternity. And within that eternity, you have all the opportunity that you need to make the changes within so that changes happen without.
Thank you, Michael. Dan, love to hear from you.
It's a very complex question. I think one challenge we all have, especially those of us who are rather entrenched in the Western world, is that the vast majority of the reality we believe comes from the stories of others. So the modern black mirror that we stare at every day, which is our phones and our computers, tends to define our reality because that's the information presented to us. What I've learned in this journey is the only truth really lies inside yourself. And so that goes to what the other panelists have been saying, which is it lies in the heart, because the heart is our connection to God. And so to discern the madness that's going on around us, you can't use your eyes, because if you've ever been to a magic show, our eyes are easily tricked. And the powers that be have a very sophisticated understanding of how the human brain works. And so they are able to cast their spells upon us with all sorts of manipulation of emotions, flicker rates on screens, and sound bites and everything else. I mean, it's really amazing how sophisticated the control system is as far as manipulating the matrix in which we live. And so to discern the truth, it really requires silencing that mind, because the mind's the trickster, and opening your heart. And once you start breaking through into that path, a new understanding starts to unveil in front of you. So with that, I will mix both kind of my understanding through excessive reading and then also my own intuitive understanding. And we are going through this inflection point. The Earth passed through the galactic plane starting in 1987, which is pushing us into this higher energy zone. And so that's what I think is, again, so interesting, is that all these different ancient philosophies all are converging at this time. And they all look at things from a different perspective, but the mystics in those philosophies see the same thing. We're going through this transition, and there is beauty on the other side. The thing that I don't know myself, other than my intuition, is I think there is a possibility we could fall backward. And this has happened throughout our histories, the fall of Atlantis, the fall of Lemuria. I think mankind has hit these inflection points in the past and have not stepped up to the task. So to step up to the task, we have to have really an aggregate of the population be more service to others than service to self. We need to think of the whole and not just our own individuality. And that's a big affliction of the Western culture, because it's very much self-centered. It's pursuit of individual excellence, and often at the expense of others. And that's the system that we seem to have in place. So the question I ask myself is, as we go through this process, if we are able to survive this birthing process, which I truly believe we are, will everyone survive? Or will we see a split of consciousness in the system? And some people are saying that, we will split into two Earths. Those who do not make this transition will, in a sense, incarnate in a similar Earth to what we're in, which is this, heavy 3-dimension, deep learning experience. And those that do, evolve beyond service to self into service to others will birth into this new consciousness where we really are a unity with the universe and love-centered. And so I'm not giving any definitive answers here, because I'm still searching to understand myself. What I do is I keep an open mind and say anything is possible, and I wait for my intuition to tell me. So right now I'm an observer. I try to create as much light as possible. And for those who, are interested and always, as you intermingle with people, people will gravitate to you based on a certain vibration, then cast the seeds and hopefully shed the light to other people. And then it carries on and carries on and carries on, which is what we're doing here. We're casting seeds and hoping some of these seeds mature into understandings that maybe people didn't have before. That's my 3 cents.
Thanks, Dan. I'm hearing this common theme of heart work. Likely that means meditation, prayer, this sacred process of discovery. So both indigenous traditions and quantum physics suggest that we put out at the inner levels of consciousness and subtle energy, that what we put out at the inner levels of consciousness and subtle energy, such as our thoughts, intentions, prayers, meditations, and visions, has the power to materialize as our visible reality. Right now, it seems as if we have collectively manifested a reality based on separation consciousness rather than unity consciousness, resulting in conflict, violence, and destruction, both ecological and social. Yet, conversely, this also implies that if we return to unity consciousness, we can manifest a new earth and society of love, co-creation, and harmony, living in communion with all of nature and each other. And so, presuming you feel this is so, how can we access that unity consciousness within ourselves to bring about this outer transformation? And we'll have about 2 minutes per speaker, please. And we'll start with Koryanka. Thank you.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to say that in order to transition from separation consciousness to unity consciousness, we need to soften our hearts to understand at the personal and collective levels the origin, the root cause of separation and the terrible consequences you have mentioned. The root cause is in the separation from our spiritual nature. That's where it all starts. Giving our power away to the ego primarily in an attempt to protect us, the ego can create heavy feelings and other kinds of heavy energy to lead with that. And so after we do get to understand and have compassion for the origins of separation, then we can step into radical forgiveness and compassion for the ones also hurting others in any way. And that's not easy to do, of course. That's why we need to be doing our inner work to be able to reach that level of having the capacity to feel and have compassion even for the ones hurting others. Unity consciousness can only be born when we acknowledge our imperfect human nature, the false illusions of the ego, and we are willing to take a stand for love, coming from a place of forgiveness and compassion. And having said that, to find unity consciousness within, we want to take the most wonderful journey of them all, going from the head to the heart, quieting the mind, which in our modern times is hard to do because we are so used to the mind working too much, especially the ego mind, creating confusion and self-harm through our own decisions and actions based on the false illusions. When we quiet the mind, we can go into the heart and access the voice of the soul. And there are helpful ways, of course, to do this, such as meditation that you mentioned, prayer, and visualization. But remember that these are valuable teachings. And what will take us there, right to the soul, is truly wanting to reconnect with ourselves, with our soul, taking action accordingly. And in this reconnecting with the soul, accessing our connection with the divine again in unity and harmony while being here on earth. So it's doable, but it does take a huge amount of work, but it's beautiful work. And I think it's totally worth it, of course.
Thank you, Koryanka. Yes, I think we all agree it's totally worth it. And I hope all of our participants do too. Michael, please, 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, in keeping with the theme of Koryanka, the obstacles are really what we need to concentrate on first and foremost in order to get ourselves into that position of developing unity consciousness. And so in the teachings of the Inca say that they're the first step, the very first step to the raising of consciousness is the elimination of the egos with an S. And so those egos are represented in the 7 cardinal sins: lust, anger, pride, envy, greed, laziness, and gluttony. They exist within each one of us. Each one of us has those 7 egos in some form or another controlling the agenda. And the teacher says that in order for us to eliminate the egos, we need to do the work, but we can't do it alone. We need to call upon our father and our mother. So the commandment that says, honor thy father and thy mother, does not mean your biological father and mother. It means this father, which is wisdom in the third eye, and this mother, which is love. So with wisdom and love, which is aboard every human being, we are capable of eliminating the egos. We just need to ask for that help. Praying to your father and your mother who are present within you to assist you to reduce feeding the egos. The teacher says that the 7 egos, in order to better understand their hold on you and see how you feed them, is assign an animal to each ego in your mind. So lust is the black dog, only interested in the sex. Anger is the bull. Pride is the peacock. Envy is the seagull. It'll take your French fries. Laziness is a monkey in South America called the puño puño, so lazy and sloth-like can hardly peel a banana to feed itself. And greed and gluttony is taken by the pig. So just imagine in your own mind how you feed those animals. See how they arise. The typical story is a man walking down the beach. He sees a beautiful woman in a bikini. Lust, boom, the black dog comes out. He goes a little further, somebody says, you're a son of a bitch, you owe me money. Boom, the black dog retreats, the bull comes out. He goes a little further and someone says, you're the best person to ever walk the face of the earth. And the peacock comes out. And on and on and on and on. And so asking your father and your mother, who are aboard everyone, to assist you to stop feeding the egos is the first teaching of the Inca.
Thank you, Michael. And Dan, please.
Thank you. So under the Gnostic teachings, they have a methodology in meditation, and this aligns with much of what Michael said. But there's basically 3 things you should do in a meditation if you want to manifest and create beauty and consciousness. So the first thing as you go through your meditation is to ask for forgiveness. And so this is exactly what Michael was talking about with our 7 deadly sins. And so as you go into meditation, recognize in yourself where those 7 deadly sins have arisen. And then you ask your divine mother for forgiveness of your impulses or your actions in those deadly sins. So this is how we start to clear our karma, and we start to cleanse ourselves of these attachments that hold us into this material realm. So then after you go through forgiveness, you can then go into the manifestation side of the meditation. Now, a lot of people, this is where you see the law of attraction and a lot of the hype cycles of New Age spiritualism look at manifestation as, oh, I can go manifest material wealth for myself. And you can do that. The challenge you have, you start asking for things that are selfish oriented, you start to orientate yourself to service to self, which then actually degrades you from your evolution on your spiritual path. So the real way to do manifestations, I think that is better for society, is to manifest love for everybody, manifest light, manifest understanding, manifest healings on those close to you. So you're giving your energy, your love, your light to other people. You can still do that for yourself, but service to others is far more rewarding than service to self. There's a law of 7 that says what you give out, you get back times 7. So give your love to others, you'll get back 7 times that love. And then the third piece of a good meditation of building to this unity consciousness, and this is the one that I myself often forget because I'm focusing on the forgiveness and manifesting love, is gratitude. And that's something that a lot of people forget to do in their meditations, which is to thank God, to thank their divine mother, their divine father for this wonderful experience we're having in this incarnation. And so, you know, really expressing true heartfelt gratitude for this amazing human experience, no matter how difficult it is, it's still an amazing human experience that we signed up for, completes that you know, energetic triangle, which is a amazing foundation to move both your heart and then eventually society towards unity consciousness. So, my 4 cents.
Thanks, Dan. That's a wonderful reminders, particularly gratitude. It easily is forgotten, and we have so much to be grateful for. Yes, Kavita, please, love to hear from you.
Yes, a lot of what I wanted to say, Koryanka already said. And yes, so I just wanted to emphasize that to reach unity consciousness, we have to begin by healing the wound of separation within us, in a very personal way, actually. And since that wound of separation is at the root of what we've been calling the 7 deadly sins, I think if we can bring real compassion and love and acceptance to that wound within us, then those 7 deadly sins also begin to lose their charge. So it's a bit like I would emphasize, because we have been living in this patriarchal age, and the patriarchy is all about kind of judgment and whipping yourself over the back for your wrongdoings and your sins and your karma and so on. I think the emphasis now has to be on real compassion and love for ourselves, and really embracing that wound of separation, which is so painful and at the root of all these wrongdoings and illusions and misguided actions and systems we brought into the world. So to come in a very personal way into that wound of separation in our heart, to bring the Divine Mother to it with her all-embracing love and forgiveness and compassion for us. And as that wound begins to soften and heal within us, then we can radiate that love and forgiveness and compassion to others. It happens almost automatically, and that false distinction between self and others just melts away. So I think that's very much the spirit of the Divine Mother, which is a big part of a big part of how we can access that unity consciousness in ourselves for these pivotal times.
Yes, thank you, Kavita. Yes, the wound of separation is clear, and it's running the show on the planet. So much to heal. Okay, our final questions for the panelists. How do you feel we as individuals can best discover the unique role we're meant to play in this collective transformation? Can we come together as diverse individuals and cultures to co-create new systems that both regenerate our Earth and fulfill our highest human potentials? So I invite Michael to begin, please. 2 minutes. Thank you.
2 minutes. In 2 minutes, I'm going to be able to say the ultimate. and the ultimate is we are all one. That's the ultimate. Because we are all one, we are all connected. And because of that connection, we have the capacity for enormous change. I mean, imagine this. Here we are talking together. There's 15 of us. And let's say we started with 2, and then 15, and then 30, and then 60, and then on and on and on. The ability to exponentially increase the opportunity for us to fulfill our Dharma. All of us have Dharma. All of us have been given a specific role. Each and every human being has a specific role. Each one of us holds a puzzle piece. And if that puzzle piece isn't put into the cosmic puzzle, then it just continues until such time as that puzzle piece goes into the cosmic puzzle. So there's absolutely, definitely our ability to influence change, but being with the change that is occurring. That's what it's all about, is being with that change. Rather than saying I'm pushing it from behind or I'm pushing it in front, none of the pushing is required. It's like my karma ran over my dogma. That's where it's at, is that I have to get into a position where my karma runs over my dogma so that I am now clear. I am now listening. I am now taking in the messages that were meant not only for me, but for all of humanity. So within the concept of intuition, you will get the message that you require to fulfill your dharma. And then we become one by virtue of that unity consciousness. And striving for that unity consciousness is actually the goal. That's actually why you're here, is to strive for that unity consciousness. Seek out like-minded people. Seek out the teachings that will allow you to become blossoming like a flower of unity.
Thank you, Michael. Short and sweet. Dan, turn it over to you, please.
Thank you. So to really understand your purpose, you have to go inside yourself. You have to learn to shut down the externalities, because again, those are often preying upon the material senses, which trick you. So I think setting up, establishing a daily meditation practice. And again, meditation doesn't mean just sitting there and holding silence. It can be a long walk in the woods. I mean, there's people when I first started this path, I used to run marathons, and running for 3 or 4 hours, it puts you into kind of a hypnotic state. And so you start to get clarity that way. So I think as you go inside and do the work, again, practicing forgiveness, primarily forgiveness of yourself, because even forgiveness of others, those things that you're forgiving them of really are reflections of yourself. That, the things that bother you, that you see in others, is what tends to annoy you. And so doing this work and clearing yourself, you'll find that your intuition and your heart starts speaking to you much clearer, and you will then find your purpose and your path. So focus on polishing your brass or brightening your own light, because one match can light the darkness. So focus on making your light as bright as possible, and you will find that the purpose will start to manifest in front of you then, because your intuition will speak louder and louder and guide you towards where your true purpose is. Your mind will never find your true purpose. It will mislead you. It'll run you towards all sorts of the crazy stuff in this world. So you have to lead with the heart, for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dan. Kavita, please.
So I think what Dan just described is a beautiful recipe for contacting our own unity consciousness, our own source, and intuiting what our role is, receiving the direction for our own unique role. And then I think the complement to that is that what Michael was referring to, that each of us have our part in the puzzle, each of us has our own role, and to see our role as part of the whole, and honor the different levels of work, both the inner and outer work, both the individual and collective work, honor all those levels and all the actors at those levels as being essential, just as essential as your own role and your own connection. And I have a model I call the spheres of co-creation. It's like a co-creative platform for people to come together in collaboration, all of whom are working for transformation, inner and outer, at those different levels of our being, and to see how we all have different expressions of it. Some people are working actively at outer levels, for instance, in law cases, or changing the economic systems, or political actions. I think those are important as well as the inner work. And I think those outer levels of work can be energized and uplifted and supported by the inner levels of work that others of us are focused on. If we see that all those levels of transformation are important, and respect and honor each of them to feel ourselves as a united movement of consciousness for this higher transformation.
Thank you, Kavita. And I just posted again in the chat the link to the facilitator page of the Soul School Network website, and you can see Kavita's post and then follow that to her information on the spheres of co-creation, which is very interesting and informative. So finally, Koryeka, please do share your thoughts.
Yes, I'd like to start by answering the first question, discovering, yes, we can discover the unique role we're meant to play in this collective transformation. For me, the answer to that question is to discover our role in the transformation that we are experiencing in the planet. We first need to get to know ourselves. And when I say get to know ourselves, I'm not talking about just getting to know the most superficial things about ourselves, but getting to really know ourselves in our divine nature, which is the most powerful part of who we are, beyond the ego and beyond the confusion and everything else. Deep inside, there is that divine essence that we have that makes us, be the amazing human beings with infinite potential that we are. So as we are going through that process of getting to know ourselves, then we start to discover that every little thing about who we truly are as divine beings on earth is connected to our role in this time of transitions. And that our abilities, qualities, degree of intuition, how developed some of our abilities are, is directly connected to our life purpose. So nothing is random. Nothing is just, something strange or interesting about us. Everything is very purposeful there for a reason. We have been pretty much created by this divine intelligence that is very, very careful about how we have been designed, personally, so that we can bring our gifts to this world and play a role in this transformation. The other thing I want to share is that walking in faith and surrendering your own conscious will, you will allow your soul and the divine spirit, the spirit guides around us as well, to show you the way. And how do they show you the way? Not only in meditation or prayer, giving you some ideas or feelings, but also you're going to start to see in the outer world synchronicities and signs and people coming your way, telling you the right things, pointing in the right direction, or situations. Then again, talking about endings and beginnings. Perhaps you were working somewhere and you thought that would be the rest of your life where you would be working, and something happens and you lose that job. And you really don't want to lose that job. And you might be really grieving that loss. And yet that loss is redirecting you and taking you closer to being in your life mission. So yes, things like that happen all the time. And yes, we are to come together as diverse people and cultures. Actually, diversity is needed. We are each like pieces of the puzzle that somebody already mentioned that can create something greater than ourselves when we come together in harmony and unity. And there is a need now more than ever to respect and love our elders and ancient cultures that already have hundreds of years of experience in living in harmonious ways with the divine within, in nature and all around. And they hold the keys to us rising in love, light, unity, and consciousness. The knowledge and wisdom, all of that, the how is already there. We just really need to have this consciousness that is there, that we have everything we need to go and create what many people call the new earth. So to me, really returning to the old ways is central to learning how to be our soulful selves again.
Thank you, Koryanka. And thank you to all of the panelists for your guidance and wisdom. It's clear to me that the power lies in each and every one of us for this collective transformation that we are into, like it or not. I'd love to read these wise words that Maureen wrote in the chat. And she said, as we focus inward, doing the inner work of the heart brings us into balance and into coherence with the divine frequency, allowing to work in partnership with the universe, allowing ourselves to be the sacred vessels to bring the divine energy into the world, bringing sacred change and benefiting all beings. How true. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you very much. We are spilling over the hour, and I hope that you may be able to stay with us for another 10 minutes because we would like to do a couple more things, one of which is a lovely meditation with Koryanka. But before we move on to that, I welcome any questions or comments that any of you have. You can just put up your hand or raise your virtual hand. And thank you to those of you who've joined us on YouTube live stream. I can't really track both at the same time, but thank you for being here. So does anybody have a question for the panelists or comment? Yes, Michelle, please do.
I was just wondering about the solar eclipse, like the significance of it. Apparently it's supposed to form an X or something, like they were talking about it's going to finish an X and I was just wondering what people thought of that. Like if there's any importance to that.
So the X comes from the last eclipse, which happened in 2017. So that cut across, I think it went from west to east across the United States. And then this one is going a bit more south to northeast. And then X marks the spot. So as far as there's many different layers to look at this. There are some very interesting things that are happening on the 8th. They're firing up the Hadron Collider on that day. And then NASA is also firing 3 rockets at the moon that day. And they're doing it at specific times that have a certain occultic symbology. So there's definitely, when you look at history, there's always a lot of kind of occultic mystery that goes around eclipses. And the ruling powers tend to utilize a lot of the time sequences and astrology and so forth. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not worried about it. I'm actually going to be on a plane traveling to Europe at the time. So I'm not taking it too seriously. My personal view is it's a symbol of this transition we're going through. And so I'm looking at it as a positive. It's part of this 2024 tremendous awakening process that we're going through. And I think it will energetically accelerate it, but I don't really know. I wish I did, but it's beyond my pay grade right now.
I hope, Dan, that when you travel, when you're about to board, if it looks like a rocket, don't get on.
I don't know. It might be fun to see what's out on the moon.
My answer is coming straight from intuition, is that it will be written in the heavens. And so it's meant to be a marker. That's what X is. It's a marker. And that marker is fulfilling what we're all speaking about, which is essentially this transformation. It's being shown in the heavens that what we're speaking about is occurring. And so this marker is to say, you are in the thick of this transformation. What are you going to do? That's what I think.
Thanks for your question, Michelle. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, Thank you. Let us move on to a meditation with Koryanka. It's a brief meditation, about 5 minutes. And I do want to mention that our next meeting is on April 14th, and we will have the pleasure of an interview with Koryanka and her teacher, her maestro Lorenzo. He's a shaman in Peru, a beautiful man who has many wisdom teachings to share, I'm certain. So I do hope you'll join us. And so I would like to turn it over now to Koryanka, please.
Thank you, Sue. And since time is to the essence, I will tell you what I want to share with you is a very relaxing, grounding meditation. So I hope that serves you well. Please, let's go within and be present. To start, you might close your eyes if that feels good. And take 3 deep, relaxing breaths. 1. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 1 more. And 1 more time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll start scanning our bodies for any tension there might be, starting at the head. We'll do this together. We'll just observe without making any meaning out of it. Scan the crown of your head, the back of your head, your face, your neck, your shoulders, one arm and then the other. All the way down to your hands. Now your back, from the neck all the way down to the final bone of the spine. You can focus your attention now on your chest and your abdomen. Are there any sensations so far? Any muscle tension? Just observe it for now. Continue with your right leg and foot. And your left leg and foot. Wherever you found tension, let it go gently by visualizing that it is a white cloud that slides down your body all the way to your feet, leaving your body through the soles of the feet. Perhaps there will be many clouds of tension leaving your body. That is great. You are letting them go. You can feel good about it. Once tension is out of your body, it will be gone and transform into life-giving energy. Let's take a deep, relaxing breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let it feel good. You can stretch your body and make sure you are comfortable wherever you are. You are a beloved child of the earth, deeply connected to her. Notice how your feet are planted on the ground, either physically or energetically at all times. Feeling the earth with the soles of your feet. Feel how your energy grows and extends itself from the soles of your feet towards Mother Earth. You are growing energetic roots that go into the moist, rich soil under your feet, uniting you with the Mother, receiving nourishment and love from her. The more your roots extend and go deeper and deeper into the earth, the more you feel deeply grounded and held in love by Mother Earth. Stay present in this moment. You can feel it. Remain grounded and present in this moment. Grounded and present. Grounded and present. You can gently go back to your breathing. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. And one more time. Now you can slowly open your eyes when it feels good to you and move your body slowly as you come back.
Thank you, Korinka. That was beautiful. And I invite you, if you are so inclined, to record that for us, and we could post that on the Soul School Network website, and people could listen to that grounding meditation again at the time they so choose. And I was just going to share, I guess maybe I won't, but I invite you to go to the Soul School Network website, where we are going to have some meditations. There's one there already that Korinka did, and you can learn about the facilitators. Our donate button is there, so if you're so inclined, even $5 or $10 to support the expenses we have for Soul School Network, we would appreciate it. And yes, so we will see you on April 14th for Maestro Lorenzo. Excuse me. We have an excellent speaker on April the 28th, Martha Creek. I hope you can join us for that. And wish you a wonderful solar eclipse on full and a new moon around April 8th. And we do like to close our meetings with the Mantra of Unification, which I would like to bring up on the screen so that you can follow it if you don't know it. It is on the resource page of the Soul School Network website. And then so I'll invite Michael to lead that prayer. And then the other thing, let me just share my screen to say, is that I'm thinking about Parachute Club. If any of you remember the song Rise Up by Parachute Club, It's a great theme for the day. So perhaps if you have time this afternoon, open YouTube and listen to Rise Up by Parachute Club. Maybe you'll even dance a little bit. Maybe Michael and I will do that today. It would be fun and uplifting, and it would go with the theme of the day. So Michael, if you would like to lead us in a prayer, please, the mantra of unification.
Mantra of unification. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. Miigwech, Wiracocha.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Wish you a wonderful week. Look forward to seeing you again. We welcome your thoughts. Please feel free to contact us through the website. We appreciate you. We love you, and see you again soon. Safe travels, Dan. We'll
Thank
think
you.
of you. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye, happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thanks to you too,
Happy
Michelle.
Easter.
Happy Easter.
No rocket flying, Dan.